Hello, 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 and welcome to the second edition of the Business and Expert Forum. I hope that you've had a good week and you are most welcome to this program. Okay, now just a little bit of insight into what Business and Expert Forum is about. It's a forum, a platform for developing people and businesses through knowledge sharing. That's what we do. We develop people and businesses, and that is all through knowledge sharing. And the forum features successful business executives, some budding business executives, and also prospective entrepreneurs. We also try to highlight the progress and achievements of ordinary people like you and me, and willing to go the extra mile to improve their lifestyles and the lifestyles of those around them. And we do that by discussing some of the strategies they had adopted. The forum also features experts and specialists in their respective fields coming to discuss everyday topical issues such as technology, finance, medicine, law, just you name it, we have it. So if you are someone who wants to go into business, develop your passion into business or make business more profitable, then this forum is for you. We are on every 2 weeks on Mondays. And please remember, if you're here, you're in the right place. And remember to subscribe to the channel so that you receive notification whenever we go live. Okay, so tonight we have with us a young lady who has pursued a few business ventures and made significant impact on others. She has an acumen for business, started early, and is very well driven to achieve success in the face of adversities. She runs a recruitment business, she runs an export business, and she's also into properties. Interestingly, she has a hobby that has nothing to do with business. She has a special love for cars and would love to take a Bugatti on a high-speed trail. One of her many dreams is to retire at the age of 45. Yes, you heard me right. The age of 45. And she's on track to achieve exactly that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Lucy Kihara.
Hello, hello, good evening. It's
Hello,
a
Lucy.
pleasure to be invited to your forum, Marcus.
Hello, Lucy. You're most welcome. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Business and Express Forum, you're most welcome. We are lovely. We are happy to have you on tonight, and we have lots of questions for you, and I'm sure my audience will have some questions for you as well. But let's kick it off, Lucy. Lucy, you actually studied microbiology, right? But then you found yourself in businesses concerning properties. You found yourself in export business, as well as into recruitment agency. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, your personal background as a person? What was your background like?
Uh, just to start with, I'm born from a family of six, being a fourth born, but the firstborn girl to Mr. and Mrs. Kihara, and brought up in the rural part of Kenya. Grew up there, finished my education in Kenya until the age of 18. And so I came to the United Kingdom as an adult. So everything that I'll do is to having to learn the systems and everything. Came here and did uni and studied microbiology. So I have a BSc in microbiology, which I don't know, I haven't worked in that background at all, or not really. Uh, that was my passion to go into medicine. That was what I wanted when I was growing up. But I thought maybe an easier route, microbiology. But then again, growing up, business was whatever my mom did. So yeah, my mom has been the backbone and the inspiration that I've always looked up to.
Okay, good. So would you say that your motivation for business derives from your mom, or would you say you had your own motivations? Because it's very rare that you have somebody who studies microbiology and who is kind of ready to go into medicine, all of a sudden shifting into business, and not just one type of business, but you are into different types of different sectors, really. Recruitment in agency for care homes. You're also into exports, which we'll go into detail very shortly about, and then you're also into properties. So what was the motivation? At what point did you drift from thinking about being a medical person or being a medical doctor into just going into business?
Uh, I would say probably from a very young age, I did any opportunity that I saw. And I remember sometimes my auntie had her farm, but she didn't live with us. So what I used to do was to tell her that I'll do the farm for her, I'll till the land for her. And I'll look for people, for friends, and I'll just cook for them, but I'll have charged my auntie. So I'll just, my cost will be cooking, refreshments, and I'll stay at home. I won't do any tilling. And I'll just be thinking, what's my margin here? And I'll make whatever I'll make. And my mom brought us up selling in the market. And probably from the age of 13, 14 there, sometimes I'll be tasked with going to do her deliveries and collect the money for milk. So all the hassles and the markets in Africa can be quite harsh environment, especially when you are so small. And I was very skinny, so nobody or someone will be thinking you and all this. And sometimes I've got 400 liters of milk to deliver. So from a young age, that's what I would say there was that driving force that was there. And as much as I saw my mom sometimes make maybe after doing all this, then these losses, there's all that. It probably taught me that one day you can be so rich, you have so much, and then tomorrow she comes and says, "Oh, I made losses, the milk went off." But it taught me the perseverance and just start giving me that stamina that you rise, you fall, and in business you can, there's no limit of to what you can make.
Okay, okay, that's very
Yeah.
interesting because it kind of what you just said kind of resonates with a lot of us, a lot of our listeners, I believe, because you're talking about humility, you're talking about coming from a very humble background, and it's essential that we highlight that point on Business and Experts Forum, because what I said at the beginning is that this forum actually brings people, ordinary people like you and me, people sometimes people nobody's giving any chance to, just coming out of the blue and just making it really big. So what I didn't want to ask you, so if we've got people who may be listening now and aspiring to set up businesses and be as successful as you have been, Lucy. So I'm just going to ask you to give us a brief summary of some of the processes you've had to follow and I'll focus on the export business, because export is not very common. And so I want you to kind of give us a bit of insight into the processes you've had to follow to set up your export business. What are you exporting, and what was the reason for actually moving to that export business?
I look at one thing, the two words, potential and purpose. Those are my two words that I base everything on. And sometimes when you're looking at a business or whatever you're doing, you look at what have I got potential in. But I learned that sometimes when I focus on my potential, I don't fulfill the purpose. And it kind of made me have the dimension of thinking the purpose and focus more on the purpose rather than the potential. Sometimes you can sit there and say, I have potential, which we all do,
Hmm.
and say, I have the potential to just, set up a multi-million business, but what's your purpose for doing that? So those two words are my biggest guide. Then I look at it, uh, I'm a Christian, so all my foundation in all this, I have learned to put everything based on the word. I look at it, Genesis, and says, increase and multiply. Go and increase and multiply. So, in all the setting ups that I'll do or the businesses that I've started, I have done basing myself on one thing. There has got to be an increase. It has to multiply. So whatever I do must increase, must multiply,
Okay.
and that
Okay.
is
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
Go on.
Okay, I was just gonna try and get you to highlight a bit more on the processes. So, in terms of things like relationship with regulatory bodies, so you got to register the business. What are the regulatory bodies? Because there will be certainly be some regulatory bodies that will monitor the kind of things you do as an exporter from the UK. So
Yeah.
that's where I want to focus on. So, what is the process around that? You set up the business, which we all know. You can register with Companies House, and then obviously then you got people partners like HMRC. But when it comes to export, there must be something more than just HMRC and Companies House. What are they, and what is the process that you need to follow to achieve? Make sure that you are within the law, as it were.
Okay. Every country, I would say, has got its own regulations. So, number one is making sure that you familiarize yourself with whatever country that you choose to do the business with, the one you're importing from, the one you're exporting to. So, you must have that information. Say, like in the UK, for you to ship anything out of here, they don't really have that much. As long as it does not affect the environment, there isn't much that you need to be so much aware of. But what you must do and what you must have is the receiving country. You must know their rules. You must know the bodies, which I'm sure most of the countries have got governing bodies which are assigned here in the UK that you can get in contact with, which are all available on websites. I think the three main ones being um, Bureau Veritas, which are the inspection bodies, the two others who have got contracts with various governments, African governments, and not just African governments, SGS and Exporter. So once you do those, they are also there to guide you for the export for every country.
Okay, okay. So basically, you got to stay within the law. Do you have to have regular reviews with some of those organizations? Are there regular reviews? Do you have to submit returns on a regular basis? How do they ensure that you are still within the law even after you've registered?
Nothing really, because as much as it's not, like you said, a lot of people probably may not have the idea. It's the regulations come in force in the arriving country. And what they do is, as long as you have used them, you subscribe to their services, or you are registered as an exporter, you will always get the updates of the changes that are happening in the market. But again, also, it's your own responsibility to familiarize with the customs of each country to know what changes are being implemented, which change every so often. So you just have to make sure that you do that.
Okay. Did you have to put together a business plan, or did you just jump into it with a vision and then you carried on hoping that somehow it will work? And if you did put up a business plan or put on put I mean create a business plan, what are some of the areas of a business plan that you necessarily must show within that plan. So, for instance, a business plan may have a finance section. What are some of the key sections within a business plan that anybody who wants to go into business must first of all look at? Because you definitely need something to start with. You should just jump into it. What was your process?
Um, when I started mine, probably I didn't have one because most of the time when you have to do a business plan would be because you're looking for funding or things like that. Um, so I wouldn't call it like that very detailed financial business plan, but still, I still had my own plan of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve, what was I expecting on the other end, sales, demand, everything. So when I started, I would say that I had just taken a redundancy from a company that I worked for. I worked at GlaxoSmithKline. And after taking my redundancy, I went into the business, having looked in the market and seen the gaps that were there. More of smell what sells. Then internet technology was just getting more popular into Kenya. And there was all these like cheap internet. And I looked at the gap and thought, okay, we've got the cheap internet, but then the computers are not everyone's cup of tea there because it's too expensive. And I looked at that as a market gap to know that obviously people will be looking to use this internet, but then they haven't got the gadgets. So I went into that and sourced out here to see the refurbishments of computers because most of the companies here will use computers for maybe a year or two and then data is deleted and is refurbished and sold off or destroyed. So I saw that as a market gap for that need that was there for people to have that affordable computers, and that is how I started mine. So that's how I had looked at my business plan, really, rather than that very, very, like I said, I didn't do business in my studies.
Okay.
So I went there like with just layman's sort of idea, knowing the balance sheet of the credit and debit, and then, yeah.
So you must have had a few knocks here and there. We'll talk about the knocks later. But you have been mostly self-employed. Okay. And you talked about redundancy. You took a redundancy. Did you have a redundancy package that involved money that you used to set up your businesses, or or not? And if you didn't, how did you manage to survive during the time that your business had was just budding business and had just taken off, and you didn't have a lot of money, and you were self-employed? You're not employed by anybody. You're not getting any income, and you were running a self as a self-employed person. How did you manage to survive financially?
Yes, I did. I had a redundancy package that had some money on it. Not much, obviously, being so young. I hadn't worked for many years. I'd worked for 10 years for the company. So my redundancy wasn't great, wasn't that much. So when I started, I had one thing that I'll put a reserve of that money to for my bills, everything. And I always say that when you go into business, just think of how will you survive for 3 months, because within 3 months you're bound to know whether it's working or whether it's not working. Prior to that, if I was to say something, I did try the businesses, but I was still working. And what I realized is that because I looked at the business as a plan B, I never gave my plan. I always concentrated on the plan A, which was my job.
Okay.
So the plan B was never given much attention, which always led to failure. But this time in 2008, I went in there knowing that I've given up my job and now this must work. So I had to give it everything. I had to give my all because knowing that I've put all my money, all my savings, or there, then you give your all. So that is what I would say that if you go into the business, sometimes unless it's just a part time, think where you want it. Is it just want to earn you extras, or do you want it to be your main thing?
Okay.
But if it's your main thing, if you want it to be your main thing, then you must look at it that the job is a part time.
Okay.
then others you can't give. Because I always sat there thinking at the end of the day, whether I do it or not, I'll still get paid at the end of the month.
Okay.
So it made me drag a bit for many years because even I would look for, I did security guards supply. And one contract would finish and then I don't even look for another one because at the end of the day, I knew I'll be paid.
Okay. Okay.
So giving 100% and then give yourself like, can I survive for 3 months? If you still can't, save a little bit to make sure that I can survive for 3 months while I'm getting all the neat and grit for the business to work.
Okay. We will be shortly be talking about the crux of the reason why we have you on this evening, which is about you retiring before the age of 40. You're retiring by the age of 45. But
Yeah.
before we get to that point, I just want to find out what are some of the strategies that you've had to use as a business person to keep your expenses low or to make sure that you generate savings? Because in business, you got to ensure that you're profitable. Your business is profitable. Two ways of making a business profitable. You can either generate a lot of income, and then also the second way is to also keep your expenses low. How have you managed to do that to ensure that your business are profitable, the three businesses you're running?
Um, Prioritizing is putting things into priorities works for me. Knowing what to do first, what's important, if it's an expense, I have to look at it. Is it necessary? Does it have to be done? Am I on a deadline? If it doesn't meet those criteria, then I know it can wait. If it's unless it's manual that's earning interest, then I have every reason for it to wait to be paid. But if it's an expense that will bring more business or more into the pocket, then yeah, then I go for it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's good. So before we move on to the next session of finding out about this thing about you retiring by 45 years, I just want to take the opportunity to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is someone who is coming on this Business and Express Forum on the 2nd of August, which is 2 weeks from today. Their name is Cindy Terrier from all the way. She's gonna come all the way live from the U.S. Baltimore in the U.S. of A. Cindy studied chemistry. She pursued a career in nursing for 13 years and was actually registered as a registered nurse. And as a mark of Cindy's innovativeness, she opened her first salon called Shades of You in 2004. She later founded a company by name Diva by Cindy brand, which creates alcohol-free hair products for dealing with tresses. Now, Cindy went ahead to launch the Doggy Diva product, a detangler for long-haired dogs in 2013. She was the first woman to launch an automated hair care vending machine at over 1,500 locations in the US of A. Yes, vending machine that gives you hair products. She was the first one, and she's done that mainly at airports all across the US of A. She operates on a simple principle: 6 P's: prayer, persistence, positivity, presence, passion, and perseverance. But this is just a snip of what Cynthia's achievements are and what her innovativeness could have achieved. So I entreat you to join us on the 2nd of August to hear Cindy's story. She'll be joining us all the way from the US of A, Baltimore in the US of A. You will not want to miss that one. Okay, let's go back to Lucy. Lucy,
Yeah.
you are set to retire at 45. Not many of us can say that. So my question to you, Lucy, is that if I'm someone, I'm just sitting there listening, I'm thinking, how did this lady manage to plan in such a way that by 45 she could actually put her feet up, have a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine and or whatever drink you want, and then just sip through. So my question is, at what point did you start thinking about retiring at 45? How did that retiring at 45 idea come about?
Right. I had some targets, and I like to work with targets and goals. And somehow not very big goals, but if I give myself a target that I want this, I put a timeline. Because if I don't do that, that's what I realize with myself, then I can't achieve it. So for this, I was hoping that by the age of 30, this was my planning. My by age of 30, I wanted to make sure that at least I can say I'm £1 million worth, which then I was doing properties, which,
Okay.
yeah, it did work, but then it's not in with cash, but having that around to know that, okay, I've hit that as my first target. And it's at then I thought if I give myself another 15 years, um, then maybe I can manage. And at 45, I can then say, hey, I don't have to work because I need to work, but I would, there is only because it's there, but not because I have to. So I've put a few things. I've done so many things. Those who know me, I've been into the car wash industry. I've been into the security recruitment. I've done branding for companies. I've done quite a few things. But in all this, I would say that throughout my university, like I said, I don't use my microbiology, but that's one thing that you learn in university, that you go and do your presentations, you know how to do your report writing, and that for anyone who's watching, I would say don't feel put out that maybe the university thing that I'm doing at the end of the day doesn't help. But you'll find that it comes in handy at one point, because things like health and safety are things that I did when I was probably just in uni. But right now is what all through every area that I'm working in, be it in the recruitment, health and safety is key. So I will be able to do those reports and checks myself, things like COSH, all those things. So the strategy that I put in place was to first have a business that will be a capital builder towards the future investment, which can put my retirement. So all these other businesses that I've tried and the businesses I'm doing, they are there to make sure that I can build capital. They generate the capital towards the dream.
Okay.
So at the moment, so far, so good.
Okay. And I like what you said. So you basically have identified a niche, and you've kind of identified there is a need within that niche, and
Yeah.
you've decided to provide for that need, and on
Mm-hmm.
that basis you think that, look, you're on track with because the market is there for that
Mm-hmm.
demand, the demand is there for whatever item you've identified within that niche to supply. You are on track because the business is gonna go, it's got continuity. Basically there is a lot of continuity in that business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I cannot just help but ask you that we had COVID last year. I mean, when COVID struck,
Mm-hmm.
many people suffered. Unfortunately, we had a lot of people who lost their jobs, a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
who were furloughed, a lot of people who went through very, very difficult times, and apart from that, people also lost their lives. How did COVID affect your business? And if it did, how did you come around? How did you kind of get yourself out of that? What were the strategies you put in place to ensure that you actually mitigated the impact of COVID on your business?
Um, we had a lot of challenges as well during COVID, because shipments were very much affected during that time, because of the fact that all the social distancing was affected by a lot of the shipping lines laying off their staff, because putting them on hold because of the social distancing and all that. So there were a lot of delays in any shipment. And number two, the limited travel, that again was another impact. A lot of people not working, spending power went down, because I also do my export business. I do kitchenware products. So anything you find in the kitchen, cooking pots, microwaves, all those, I ship that from Belgium and UK to Kenya. I've also done from China, but again, I have a market that I want to reach, which want quality. So when we've done, but what I realized is that the positive side of the COVID time, because we had the stock already there, which had just arrived, we had actually better sales than any other time.
Okay.
And the reason for that was that I realized that a lot of people were at home. and wanted had the spare cash to spend on their kitchens because they are cooking more, so they wanted to improve more. And some way somehow, that was God given. We ended up having actually more sales than any other time after we went into lockdown. Most countries went into lockdown, and we sold more.
Okay.
So I have a lot of everything that I do. Like I said, I have the biblical values that I put into it, and you have to always give back as well.
Okay.
And during that time, we had a lot of give backs for people who are having no dinners and that, and some of them only knew us then because of that.
Okay.
So, in all that you do, don't hold everything to yourself, but spare something for another person who is in need.
That's good. So you're talking about corporate social responsibility here, where the
Yeah,
business gives back to the community. That's really good. So
it is. Yeah.
was there ever a point in your life when you thought, you know what, I'm not going to achieve this for the 5 years thing? Did you ever get to the point where you felt, you know what, I'm not going to achieve it? I'm just lying to myself.
Yes, a lot of times I've had doubts. I've had doubts, but then I have to give myself that shake and say, "Hey, Lucy, what are you waiting? Why can't you?" You know, I've had a lot of kickbacks, not kickbacks, but really setbacks, which failed businesses sometimes. So as much as I have these three businesses in place, I've also had failed businesses.
Okay.
But what I do is that, and I want to tell somebody who's had a business and it's failed and they've given up. Starting again is never easy,
Okay.
but starting again is easy in the sense that you're not starting from scratch.
Great.
When you fail the first time, you've got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wealth of information that you have built, and you already know why you failed. So when you do that comeback, you come back stronger. The only thing that limits us is the fear that we think, I already tried and I failed. But what you don't remind yourself is that I already have information and I know why I failed. So trying again is always important in any aspect of life, not just in business, but go ahead and do whatever you failed in. Even if you did it that time and it didn't work, you know why it didn't. So go back and now work on that part that didn't work. You're not starting from scratch.
I think, and this kind of drives nicely into my next question to you, which is everyone who owns a business at some point in time gets a knock or encounters a disaster. So my question to you is that what kind of disaster you must have? What kind of disaster did you encounter in your line of business, and how did you handle that disaster to make sure that you have business continuity? How did you handle that disaster?
We've had some, and again, I would say God has been faithful. We had an accident, which I would say a road accident for a truck, which was computers, laptops, and just entering into a shop, they already tipped over
Wow.
with a container, and we had a lot of losses. And then going to claim on the insurance, we find that the goods value was higher than what the driving the haulier company had. That was a big setback. And also buying products from China, and then we found that we got lower quality than what we expected. Another big
Okay.
setback.
Okay.
So when those setbacks came, we ended. I've had to go back and maybe take a loan, or the business capital has been consumed so much,
Okay.
and but it doesn't. That's why I said you don't stop. You just have to go on, do it again.
Okay.
I've had recently. I did olive oil to Kenya, and knowing that everybody is is getting conscious about health products,
Right.
I thought this is a good market. But what I did not think is that the volume matters. It's not affordable to everyone to have a 5 liter can of olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did a full container of that, that went and sat there. And I got to a point of thinking, this isn't going to work.
Okay.
This is just going to give me, all the losses. But somehow, when I was just going to give up, I got a contract with one of the main supermarkets in Kenya to supply through them. And when I got that, I had one customer who I gave for free. I gave one oil and I said, just go and think what you can do with that, whether it's to your mom or something. And this particular customer came and cleared the stock.
Okay.
So just when I was giving up. But then you learn every day is that the consumables can really be a big loss because when the expiry dates come in, then you don't have an option. So I've known how now to keep my line and avoid the things with an expiry date, you know?
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I mean, I'm listening to you, Lucy, and I can see that you seem to be very innovative, and you seem to be very dynamic in your business because you kind of pay attention to some of the knocks and make sure that you always have in place some mitigation to kind of overcome some of those challenges that you face. Now, if you've just joined us, I just want to make you aware that we are talking to Miss Lucy Kihara. Lucy runs three businesses. She is into recruitment agency, she's into exporting, and she's also into properties. Lucy has a dream to retire by the age of 45, and she actually is on track to achieve that, exactly that, you know. Okay, so just also to let you know, please, if you are listening to us, we'll ask that you subscribe to the channel Business and Experts Forum on YouTube. If you just type Business and Experts Forum on YouTube, you find a channel and then you can subscribe. We would really want you to subscribe so that when there are new episodes of the program, you get notifications of them. And also, if you want to be featured on this program, please email us at business and experts forum at gmail.com. Business and experts forum at gmail.com if you want to be featured on this program. Okay, let's go back to Lucy. Lucy, so if look, I've listened to you as a well, as a member of the audience, and I said, you know what, I'm not 45 years yet. I'm still young. And I've listened to some of your strategies. I've listened to some of your successes. I've listened to the plans that you put in place and to ensure that you're on track to achieve your dream of actually retiring at 45. If I ask you that, what if I ask you to give me a list of five top tips for someone who is aspiring to retire early, what would they be?
Uh, I would say number one, uh, have a target. And
Have
when
a
I say
target.
target, not the target of the retirement, Ali, uh, just having the strategy of how am I going to get there. So have a strategy.
Okay.
Number two, um, how will you get there? Number three, make sure they are realistic goals. Do not
Okay.
set goals whereby that you know this when you're saying by faith. Make sure it's realistic. As
Okay.
much as you have to put faith in place, make sure your goal is realistic.
Okay.
Number four, have a way of achieving that dream. How are you going to fund it? How are you going to have that in place? So I would say probably I don't know how to put them in numbers, and then have a purpose in what you're doing and find what are you capable of achieving. Because I say some people will say that I want to set up a business, but I want to employ somebody to do it. And I have
Okay.
one thing in myself that I say to me, whatever you cannot do, you cannot tell somebody else to do for you.
Okay.
So you must have information about how to do everything. I've never done, like I said, my background being microbiology, but I would know how to tweak if I have a technical error on my system, I know how to go about it. If it's payroll system, I can do that comfortably, such that your business does not fail because you've got that person that is missing, so that you can be the missing blank in every section of whatever
Okay.
you do.
Okay.
And if you can't, make sure you have enough information and enough contacts of who to contact. But whatever business that you set up, make sure that it cannot stop because someone is missing.
Okay, so what I can pick from that is that you, as a business person, must also ensure that you have continuous professional development. You must be developing yourself all the time.
Yeah.
At no point do you say, you know what, I have landed, I'm fine. I don't need to do anything again. I think I have can have a hang over my business, and I know what to do. You have to keep developing yourselves all the time. Um, right. I just want to say before we finish with Lucy is that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and then we would we'll try and go through as many questions as possible. Any questions that we're not able to go through, we would try and respond to them after the program. Okay, right. Okay, let's go back to Lucy. Lucy, how do you measure success of your businesses? How do you measure success? What would you say? We look at and say, you know what, I've been successful. How would you measure?
Uh, I don't have a measure, and there's no 1 minute I wake up and think I'm successful, because I think the moment I feel like that, then I stop working. I stop working into it. So I look at it as a work in progress all the time, and always finding that there's room for improvement in everything. Because the moment I think you're successful, maybe to a task, but not to something that you want to have continuity.
Okay, okay, okay. That's good. So that's how have you, as a person, with all these commitments, running 3 businesses, you're a family person. How have you managed your work-life balance? How did you manage to make sure that you were still there for the family, even though you've got so much commitment with your business?
All these things, actually, some of them have been bagged as my family, my children have grown. Because when they have all this time in school, that's my productive time. The
Okay.
time that the 9 to 3 is the time that I fit everything, because after school, there's the after school clubs, which take a lot of my time.
Okay.
And then that's my time for the family. So with these businesses, what tends to happen is technology has come in handy, because it's literally nothing that you can do as long as you have a smartphone.
All right.
If it's my recruitment, everything is my phone is my everything. If it's the exports, I have CCTVs. Again, I view it on my mobile phone. So if anything is WhatsApp is there to just say, hey, this, that, that, that. So just be smart with your phone. Just don't use it as a smartphone. Be smart with it and make use of that. And that frees a lot of time, not glued on an office chair.
Okay.
So I tend to find that most of the time I can do 3 days without going to my office
Okay.
because the phone is there.
Okay, good. Now, I just want to quickly go through some of the questions that have been put in by the audience. So we start with one. Someone is asking, how do you get good people to work with? Because bad employees can ruin your business. How do you get good people to work with? Because bad employees can ruin your business.
Okay. I have to say integrity and honesty. Uh, as much as the employees can ruin the business, employers can also be the bad ones. And I tend to make sure that I look into my staff welfare, I look into my, I never, their salaries. I've never had a complaint that someone missed their pay on time. Whether I had money or not is up to me to look for money from wherever,
Hmm.
because the whole point the employees come to you for them is about the money that you pay them. So as long as you make sure that you are never late, you don't tell them stories. So integrity is key. Have
Okay.
that character and then you go far.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So I like that point because even though we're talking about bad employees, what you're saying is that as a proprietor or as a business executive, you have to set the right examples. And if you
Yeah.
have good rapport with your business people or your employees, they are more likely to follow your lead.
Yeah.
Okay. So we also got someone here that says that how do you deal with fear when you come across it?
Deal with fear, did you
Yeah, how do you
say?
deal with fear? Fear, yeah, fear. The fear of the unknown.
Uh, yeah, that comes a lot. There is the fear of unknown, but then again, when you're in business, you have to be, it's a risk. You have to be risk averse if you really want to make it. Because if you wake up in the morning, and I say that all the time, waking up in the morning is a risk. Moment you leave your door is a risk. So if
Okay.
you're willing to take risks that you don't know where you're going, you don't know the car that can knock you, you don't know all that. It's the same with business.
Okay.
Don't be scared to lose. Do your risk assessment, but don't be scared because I say waking up is a risk. So rise and move on.
Okay, we've got just 1 minute. One final question. What kind of courses have you done for self development within the
I've
1 minute we've got?
done, okay, I've done quite a few other than just my degree. I do a lot of online work for personal development in management, managing businesses. So those are things I've done, even though there's no tests to them, but I just do them as just to improve myself. I read a lot of books as well. I don't like paper books though. I do a lot of audio books so that even if I'm working, I have my earphones on and it's reading me a book. So invest in that and you can do a great length with technology, like I said. So make use of your phone, not just for music, get information.
Okay, good, Lucy. Just we kind of come to the end of the questions and answers, but I just want to remind you, nobody comes to Business and Express Forum and goes away without being put on the spot. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. Now, I believe that you went to nursery school, and I
Yes,
believe that you learned some nursery rhymes.
yes.
Yes. So we're going to ask you to sing one nursery rhyme.
What did you say?
Nursery rhyme. The nursery song or a rhyme. Nursery rhyme. No, no, no.
Yeah,
You can hear me very clearly. Your internet is perfectly working.
all right.
Okay. So yes.
I
Now,
got, I've got
no.
a bad throat. Do you know, I actually can't remember the songs that I sang, but I can only remember the ones I sang with my children now because
Okay.
I've probably had too much nursery in them than what I did.
Okay. So sing one of the ones you sang with your children.
Oh my God. I haven't got singing voice
You have to find that
recently.
voice
It's
today.
Johnny Johnny.
What's Johnny Johnny? Please. I don't know
Johnny
Johnny Johnny.
Johnny. You have to answer.
I don't know. I don't know it. So
Okay, so I'm gonna say Marcus. Say yes, Lucy.
yeah. Okay. Yes, Lucy.
Eating sugar, no, Lucy.
No, Lucy.
Telling lies,
No, Lucy.
open your mouth.
No, I can't. I've got. I've
No,
got.
you just go, That's it. So that's my nursery rhyme that
Okay.
I remember so
Okay.
much.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Let's put our hands together for Lucy. If you've been watching us, you've been online with us. We've been talking to Miss Lucy Kihara, who runs her own businesses. She's got three businesses running. One in as a recruitment agent, and the one she's got a business on exports, and then she also has properties. She is the CEO of Champions Miss K, multi business owner. Well done, Lucy, and thank you very much for
Thank
coming to
you.
talk to us today. I just want, before we go off, we sign off today, I just want to ask our audience or our listeners to please subscribe to the channel so that when there is a program that is coming up or there's another episode coming up, you'll get notification when we put it through. And I just want to also remind you who our next guest is gonna be. We're gonna be live all the way from the Baltimore in the US of A with Cindy. Cindy Terrier is going to join us on the 2nd of August, which is a Monday, and she's going to join us at 7 p.m. British Summer Time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. GMT. Cindy, out of the many things that she's done, one of the key things that Cindy's done, she was the first woman to open or to launch automated hair care vending machines at over 1,500 locations in the US of A, mainly in airports. Okay, and her guiding principles are prayer, persistence, positivity, presence, passion, and perseverance. So I will treat you to join us on the 2nd of August, 7 p.m. British Summer Time, and listen to Cindy's story. You would love to hear Cindy's story. So once again, we want to say a big thank you to Lucy. Thank you very much, Lucy, for coming. And you know you're a very busy person, and we thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to come in and join us on Business and Express Forum. This is Business and Express Forum. What we do is that we bring in people, ordinary people like you and me, who have achieved extraordinary things, and we try to get people to come and talk about their stories so that it will encourage somebody. Okay, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Just look on your phone, whatever. Just click on the subscribe icon and make sure that we have your subscription. And then when there is any new episode, you get notification of it. So once again, Lucy, thank you very much. And for you out there, audience, we want to say a big thank you because this program cannot go on, or is no program without the audience. We're hoping that you've benefited from this evening, and we're hoping that whatever you've taken from here, you'll put into practice. So thank you very much for being out there. And until the 2nd of August, when we come your way again, 7 o'clock British Summer Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and 6 p.m. GMT. This is Marcus Cato from Business and Expert Forum saying thank you and have a blessed week. Bye for now.